Come to order. I ask unanimous consent that the chair be authorized to declare a recess at any time. Without objection, it is so ordered. Without objection, the first reading of the bill is dispensed with, and the mark is open to amendment at any point. Without objection, members have 5 legislative days within which to submit written statements to be made part of the record. So ordered. Good afternoon. Welcome to the Intelligence and Special Operations Subcommittee, Mark, for the fiscal year 2024 National Defense Authorization Act. Before we begin, I want to thank Ranking Member Gallego for his support and contribution to the Mark, as well as the members of the subcommittee for their efforts as we develop this bipartisan subcommittee Mark. The Mark focuses the Special Operations Forces and the Defense Intelligence Enterprise to ensure they can support the department's efforts in strategic competition and counter China. To accomplish this, the intelligence and special operations community must have the appropriate authorities, force structure, flexibility, and technically and tactically competent people to accomplish the mission. The subcommittee Mark accomplishes this by supporting the Defense Intelligence Enterprise's continued efforts to focus resources to counter China in the new domains, reforming the training and management of the security cooperation workforce in order to better support the geographic combatant commanders' efforts to counter China and Russia by ensuring that the United States is the military partner of choice, as well as increased flexibility in the Combatant Commanders Initiative Fund to meet the emergent needs of the commanders. The Mark also requires the military service secretaries, in coordination with SOCOM and the Assistant Secretary of Special Operations and Low Intensity Conflict, SOLIC, to review the force structure and personnel requirements of Special Operations Forces to ensure that they can meet the demands of strategic competition, counter China, and counter violent extremist organizations simultaneously. And finally, the Mark codifies the current Section 1202 of the FY24 NDAA support of special operations for irregular warfare to continue the United States' efforts in strategic competition with partner nations to build the capability to resist and counter aggression from nations such as Russia and China. I want to take this opportunity to thank our tremendous professional staff led by Craig, and includes Joe Bartlett, Will Johnson, and Zach Calderon. Without our team, this team, the Mark would not be possible. The chair will now recognize Mr. Gallego, the ranking member of the subcommittee, for any opening remarks he would like to make.
Thank you. I'd like to thank Chairman Bergman for his leadership and for organizing today's subcommittee Mark. I'd also like to thank the members of this subcommittee for developing this markup package in a bipartisan fashion. The Mark ensures that our Special Operations Forces and the Defense Intelligence Enterprise have the authorities, force structure, and people they need to accomplish their mission as we continue to focus on great power competition. The Mark also improves our security cooperation efforts within the department by investing in workforce development to speed our security cooperation and FMS programs, but also maintain rigorous oversight. And on Ukraine and the rest of the world, the bill tasks GAO with additional oversight of end-use monitoring of provided U.S. equipment. I'd also like to highlight one provision in particular: support our special operations for regular warfare, more commonly known as Section 1202 from the fiscal year 2018 NDAA. Last year, we worked in a bipartisan manner to pass a modification of 1202 that would make this authority essentially permanent. Unfortunately, we weren't able to get there in last year's final NDAA. This year, however, I believe we have a very clear path forward. Lastly, I echo the chairman's comments about the great committee staff and personnel office staff. They're essential in ensuring the ISO Mark represents the hard work and priorities of this subcommittee. I look forward to continuing to work together to ensure our priorities carry through to the full committee markup and throughout the whole NDAA process. With that, Chairman, I yield back.
Thank you. We will now proceed to the markup H.R. 2670, the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2024. Copies of our subcommittee Mark and directive report language were made available and distributed to member offices on Friday, June 9th. Is there any discussion or questions on the subcommittee Mark? Hearing none, if there is no further discussion, the chair lays before the members the text of the subcommittee Mark for consideration. Are there any amendments to the subcommittee Mark? Hearing none, The question now occurs on the adoption of the mark. So many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. The ayes have it, and the mark is adopted.
Chair now.
Right here? Okay. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott, for the purpose of a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the subcommittee report the mark favorably to the full committee.
The question is on the motion of the gentleman from Georgia, Mr. Scott. So many as are in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, no. A quorum being present, the ayes have it, and the motion is adopted. Without objection, a motion to reconsider is laid on the table. I ask unanimous consent that the staff be authorized to make necessary conforming technical and clerical changes and to remove from the mark provisions that would cause the mark to refer to other committees or would result in additional direct spending. Without objection, so ordered. There being no further legislative business before this subcommittee, this meeting is adjourned.
All right.
Thanks, everybody.